Well, let's continue now focus on the national water crisis, where South Africans continue to face water shortages and unplanned outages, even as floods highlight deeper pressure on the country's water systems. Climate change, aging infrastructure, and just the growing demand, they're all raising questions about reliability, preparedness, long-term water security at large. And so this morning, we're going to be joined by the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Minister Pemmy Majodina, to perhaps discuss how government is responding at this juncture. Minister, very good morning. Thank you for making time for these difficult conversations at this hour here on the SABC.
Good morning to you, Lizelle, and the viewers of SABC. Thank you very much, even for your reporters who went out for public views. And I fully concur with the pain that has been shared by the public during these interviews.
Yeah, well, Minister, I mean, we thank you for that. And we're looking at the national impact, how this also impacts local, provincial as well. We saw experts coming on warning that South Africa is facing a deepening national infrastructure maintenance crisis. And this has been driven by years of underinvestment. Talk to us about what's at stake here. Do we have a national infrastructure maintenance crisis as we're speaking?
Yes, we do. Let me start by saying, Lizelle, the water value system is very clear who does what at what point. One, we have enough water in terms of a bulk supply water, but people don't have water. And that I always say, it sounds like a contradiction that there is water, but there is no water. And what you said earlier on, that the ailing infrastructure is the cause, the lack of maintenance, the few reservoirs, the lack of storage, of water storage has impacted very negatively across the country. We have spoken to all municipalities and we have assured them of a bulk water supply. And nobody is complaining about bulk water supply. But what is at stake here is water reticulation as well as provision. And communities don't want to hear that. They want to see water coming out of their taps. And I fully agree with you. And the Professor Du Plessis was spot on. She understands very well what are the challenges of water. And on the side of Department of Water and Sanitation, we are doing everything in our power to ensure that we build enough water resource, and we've done that. But the challenge is at a local level where the water is supposed to be delivered to our people.
Well, Minister, thank you for that. It is important to speak to the different roles across the value chain. And it's an important year, given that it is local government elections. And so we're obviously looking at the issue of service delivery. But even to your point about the infrastructure issues that we have, when it comes to maintenance, when it comes to the water crisis and what it's highlighted, I mean, skills, is there a skill shortage when it comes to engineering? What's being done about that? I mean, we're 32 years also into democracy. The rollout is raising a lot of questions.
You're correct. In terms of the technical skills in municipalities, you can't be a water service provider or water service authority without requisite skills in terms of your engineering capacity, water scientists, and that is were found lacking at that space, be it in districts, in metros, in local municipalities. We have pointed out all those things to municipalities to say, whilst we have filled all your vacancies, but critical and technical skills are not there in these municipalities. Hence, people go days, months, years without water because there's nobody that is attending to water infrastructure. They are best on every day. Water is running down the street every day. We are losing about 56% of clean treated water. That water comes from the raw water supply to the bulk, then you lose it at that point of municipality. So we have compiled as the list of all those municipalities as Professor Du Plessis alluded to earlier on. But the fact is, municipalities, not of all of them, they don't have that necessary capacity. The president have requested a report 3 months ago to say who does what in terms of these municipalities, because we agreed on the 16 non-negotiables, that of closing the leaks, ring-fence water sales, disconnect illegal connections, billing system that must be corrected. All those things, only out of 257 municipalities, only 40 municipalities have attended to that. I've given the list to the president. I heard residents saying that they expect the president to pronounce what is going to happen on the water. Remember, the president in 2025 SONA, he said water is a priority #1. And we moved with speed to ensure that this is done. But on our side as DWS, we are also trying to assist municipalities, especially in areas where there is no access at all. We are exploring groundwater now to be able to augment the system of municipalities where there is not enough reservoirs, where there is no access at all.
Yeah, and Minister, you know, it's so important to understand who does what along the value chain, because as per our constitution, water is a right afforded to all. And so when you're speaking about the non-compliance when it comes to the report that had to be issued to your department and how, you know, municipalities fail to deliver on that, perhaps you can just give us an indication on the number of municipalities that fail to adhere to that, what the consequence management is going to be now that you've also submitted this information to the president himself, before we continue.
In terms of the constitution, we are responsible for the water resource as well as bulk water supply through our water boards. That is very clear. But municipalities are responsible for reticulation and provision thereof, operation and maintenance of those water infrastructure. Now, when we were doing the drop report, we have identified 105 municipalities that are not doing well, and we have since prioritized 40 of those municipalities to be assisted through COCTA. Remember, municipalities are getting MIG funding from COCTA. They get funding MISA. They also get a USDG from Human Settlement. We also assist in terms of grants. But at the end of the day, we cannot take over the responsibility enshrined in the Constitution. And I've been saying, as part of the submissions that we're getting from ordinary citizens, they are saying, why don't you amend the Constitution so that when municipalities are dismally failing, then the department must take over. But currently, because we still have this Constitution, we're a constitutional country, we're unable to take over the function and the mandate of municipality. However, that is on the pipeline. We've put all the necessary options on what must be done. COCTA, working with us as well as Department of Human Settlement and Electricity, we are giving support. But beyond support, we cannot go and be operational in municipality. And that is very painful because communities are struggling with water on a daily basis. So I hope that the president will intervene. How, I don't know. When we intervene through Section 139 and Section 163, it does not take us long. When we leave the area, the system collapses again. It takes me back to what you asked earlier on the skills. When we give grant, the sustainability of those projects. For instance, if you talk Makana in Grahamstown, we have built a state-of-the-art water treatment plant, but there is no water. And the problem lies with reticulation, old pipes that are not maintained, no technical skills. So that is what we are experiencing right now. So the turnaround plan should be that at some point, there must be a regulation, as we are busy with those regulations, to say those municipalities who are water service authority who are unable to do that, those powers must be taken away from them in terms of reticulation. They cannot be a water authority and water service provider, because that is what has been happening. And I think that is what has killed this system, because some of the municipalities are referees and players at the same time, and they don't account to anyone. And with us, we can say this, but there is an area where we cannot move beyond.
So, because Minister, I mean, this is then inevitably shining a spotlight on the issue of governance as well, and where to from here when it comes to accountability. And whilst there's been lots of talk shop, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. People are turning on the taps and water's not coming out. It's a basic human right. And, obviously people are starting to demand answers, especially because they're paying for it, right? Tax issues also coming to the fore. Even Parliament, who was told that about 400 billion is required to rehabilitate South Africa's water sanitation systems. Talk to us about the backlog when it comes to water infrastructure, the recent floods, how that's compounded the issue of climate change as well, how we best prepare for this future-proof scenario as well. But parallel to that, there's this economy of water mafias and vigilantism that's also playing its part, that's making it rather difficult. How do we begin to address that problem, especially when it's happening in real time?
Lizelle, I spent sleepless nights. One, water mafias. They deliberately vandalize infrastructure because they want to subject municipalities in contracting their water tankers, which is so painful and very, very, very unfair to ordinary citizens. And when those water tankering have been contracted by municipality, there is no monitoring system whether the water has been delivered or not. I've listened to the residents as they were interviewed by Lirado and Patricia, that yes, we see there are water tankers, but we don't get water. 3, this infrastructure that is decaying, what must be done? There's nothing to be done except to replace a decaying infrastructure, except that municipalities must prioritize water infrastructure because, as you said, water is a socio-economic enabler, but also water is a basic and fundamental human right. And these communities that we're speaking earlier on here, they are correct that they see their government failing them, and moreover that they don't understand that why is municipality not giving them water. Municipality is saying the lack of payment in terms of the billing system. People don't pay, they use water, they don't pay, they connect illegally. We said to municipalities, we gave them 6 months after water and sanitation in Daba, disconnect illegal connections, enforce your bylaws, but that is not really happening. And water must not be a weapon for local government elections. It must be on a day-to-day priority that people must get water. So I share the sentiments, and fortunately, we are a constitutional country. You can't just wake up in the morning and take over the mandate or the responsibility enshrined to another sphere. We have spheres of government, not layers. If it were layers, I was going to have interviewed a long time by now.
So then, Minister, as we're speaking, we obviously need to look at timelines. We need to look at where to from here. What are you going to be prioritizing as a ministry when it comes to the issues at hand? How can we also revisit this conversation and look at the work that has been done with everyone in mind then? Talk to us about those plans.
What we have done and we are doing now is to talk to National Treasury to withhold the equitable share of municipalities so that municipalities must start servicing their invoices and debts. So as they do that, we must then have a next step that says, having serviced your debt, then let's ring fence. They must showcase that they've ring fenced this amount for water infrastructure. The water sales must be ring fenced. That is a must. And if we allow municipalities to do as they wish and take water sales and do any other thing except water, then we are not going to resolve this issue of water. So our next step will be that we have to monitor the water sales that is ring fenced for water infrastructure. The third one, we are assisting municipalities, and there's a lot of municipalities that are coming forth that they want to have a special purpose vehicle where water will be in partnership with the private sector, because the business community is suffering a lot when there is no water. We have launched that SPV in Mfuleni, and we are rolling out. But also we are encouraging municipalities to use concessions. We have that in Mbombela. Mbombela is doing very well in water because water is managed by an agent, not by them. And that is not a water privatization, because people were very scared to see that we're privatizing water. We're not going to do that. Water is a human resource, and that cannot and a very important resource that people must access. But also, we are busy with some of the industries and agricultural activities that take water as against their license abstraction and limit and make our people not to have water. So we are also attending to that. We have a report from Judge Mwepe on how people in Limpopo were disadvantaged in getting water because of those who have licenses. They take water to their farms and divert that water at the expense of our communities. So we have that plan that we are going to table when we table our budget speech in May. We are going to say what are the next steps that we're going to follow in ensuring that people get water.
Minister Pemmy Majodina, I know it's not easy conversations to be had, but it's necessary. So thank you for availing yourself at this hour. There's so much more to unpack, and there's still more questions and answers. There are pockets of excellence. We're looking at how to manage this crisis from previous instances and really where to from here as we hold those responsible to account. Thank you for joining us, your ministry, to weigh in, we'll keep the conversation.
Because we've already packaged for. Thank you very much, Lizelle.
Okay, all right. We'll leave it there. Minister of Water and Sanitation, Minister Pemmy Majodina, joining us and really just shining a spotlight on the challenges they're facing on a national level in relation to what's happening on a local level as well, the different spheres of government, some of the challenges, some of the strides that have been taken. But the question is where to from here as people suffer with that basic human right, access to clean drinking water.